So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Day. We ask everyone who's in the Zoom room, our invited guests, that if you would please mute yourself, whether you're on your phone or in the Zoom room, as well as turn off your video. Because we want to give this time over to my dear friend, Jennifer Ivanko. And Jennifer, we do a morning meditation together. I hope we're going to put that information in the chat. And then also she is going to bring in a special guest, Esperide Ananas from Damanhur, Italy. So Jen, I'm going to give this over to you. And I think we have both of you here now. So,
and thank you, Bob and Noel, both of you, and for all the work you're doing. I wanted to also encourage, as we go, there's going to be room for questions, and please chat your questions. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ivanko. I've spent over 35 years studying the mysteries of human potential. Now, as a soul mentor, I teach techniques to enhance physical, sensory, psychological, mythic, symbolic, and spiritual capacities found within each person. A few weeks ago, my dear friends, Bob and Noel, told me about this World Unity Week, and they posed the question, what does humanity need now to bring peace and unity? Well, with this question in mind, I want to share with you an incredible, extraordinary place I've discovered on my travels. A place where the exploration and research of consciousness and human potentials is being practically applied and lived every day. Damanhur, a federation of communities in northern Italy, has been called a living laboratory for the future of humankind. A United Nations award-winning, sustainable eco-community based on ethical and spiritual values, Damanhur is renowned for its artistic, spiritual, and social research. It is a highly evolved community of over 600 individuals. And as a self-contained federation of communities, it has its own constitution, culture, art, music, currency, schools, and use of science and technology. And today I have a very special guest I would like to introduce you to, Esperide Ananas Ametista, an ambassador for Damanhur. Esperide herself is a pioneering researcher in human development. And she has a social scientist, a writer, and an international lecturer. She has studied in universities all over the world, having 3 master's degrees, including psychosociology from Milan University and communication from NYU. She has an honorary PhD in wisdom from the Wisdom Studies at Wisdom University. Esperide has complementary training in transformative peace negotiation, energy healing, and soul collage certification. And she writes that she has deepened her practices and knowledge by living in the Federation of Communities of Damanhur. She's lived there for almost 30 years. Welcome, Esperide. I would love you to tell us a little bit about Damanhur and about the temples of humankind.
Monte. Hi, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to see you here, and welcome to everyone, and thank you for your time. Damanhur, you gave a very nice introduction. I would like to add maybe the fact that we are the 3rd generation now in Damanhur, so we have children born of children that live in the community, and this is a great achievement because we have created Damanhur really to be a society based on spiritual values, but not just an experiment and not just a place of knowledge. Also really the idea, what would it take today to create and nourish a new humanity so that we can enter these new times, you know, with a full understanding of the whole process from birth to death.
Beautiful. And we've talked a lot about what makes Damanhur special, but I'm really interested in your perception of the Popolo and the importance of creating community.
Yes, you asked me as we were preparing for this what I thought would be important to really transform humanity and unite. So in our vision, there is the idea that what really characterizes our times now is the fact that we are going from the I to the we. And many people are saying this. And for us, it became very practical with the understanding as more and more people were joining Damanhur, and the more we were living together and the more we had children born, that really meant not only creating a group, but starting to create what the indigenous people always have held in their knowledge and in their wisdom. And that's the idea of creating bonds, not only here on the plane of the living, also in the afterworld, so that we can have a complete ecosystem. And this is what we call a popolo, a people. And we believe that this is a very important step in the evolution of humanity. Not only the idea of creating groups, that's the first step, but then when groups start living together, having births and deaths, and really sharing all the different aspects of life, there are spiritual bonds that start to be created among those people. And these spiritual bonds also open doors to different planes of spiritual connections. And that's when we really go from being a group to accessing a part, a greater collective intelligence, a greater container of energies. And so when we die, we also know that we can choose the continuity of existence, because this is also at the base of the whole possibility of coming back within the same people and accelerating evolution individually and collectively. And so from this rebirth and renaissance of different popolos, of different peoples around the world, that has to be based also today, especially in the protection and nurturing and valorization of all the indigenous peoples that unfortunately, on the contrary, are being destroyed more and more. And COVID is also, again, to be very contemporaneous, it's something that is happening now that is affecting and hitting them very, very seriously. So not only deforestation, not only all the policy we've done so far on the planet that were not in balance, now we also have a disease that is, really creating havoc among many indigenous people. But anyway, so after we recreate the peoples, we help the indigenous people in existence to become stronger. Then we can go from all of this to really a vision of just one humanity, but the cells of this humanity will not be the individuals, will be these peoples. They will be these coherent wholes of intelligent spiritual connection, of which each one of us would be really an indispensable element, but in this circle with everybody else.
Beautiful. I notice Damanhur really celebrates the diversity in the cultures and these peoples. And I meant to bring up the temples, the page here, so you can describe. I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on. There we go. And so you want to just go ahead and describe a little bit about these magnificent temples that Damanhur has created.
Okay.
Yes. So in order to really support this awakening of humanity, we know and we knew that in many philosophies around the world, and especially now this knowledge is coming back, many people are talking about the reawakening of an energetic spiritual matrix around planet Earth. And this spiritual matrix is held in place by many spiritual sites that over thousands of years, peoples of from all over the world have been building. And as a part of the understanding of Damanhur and of the vision of the founder of Damanhur, then became the vision of all of us, we understood that it was necessary to create a new temple, a new complex of temples dedicated specifically to the awakening of humanity, to become part of this ancient matrix and help it come to life all around our planet. So we built the temples of humankind. They're called humankind because, again, as I said, they are dedicated to the awakening of that divine presence inside of each one of us. Or better, the divine presence is awakened, we have to awaken to its presence. So this is the temples to have a place where every human being can go and remember who we really are, connect with the new forces, the spiritual forces of the new millennium. They're bringing the codes, the information, and the energy for our transformation. And as you're now showing, the temples are a complex of many halls, and each one of them has a theme. Now we're looking the Hall of Mirrors. This is dedicated to light, to spirituality, and also to the idea that we are mirrors of the divine. So when we enter this hall, as you can see on the first photo there on your left, you can't, okay, well, you can see in some of the photos there, you see your reflection over and over and over again to remind ourselves that we are fractals of the universe and that we are mirrors of the divine, and the divine is also within us. And then, as you can see in the central photograph on top, is this beautiful dome, which is the largest in the world in Tiffany glass, that has all the colors of the rainbow, because this is also a healing hall where we can heal with the different frequencies of light and sound combined together. And again, it's a hall for group healing, not just individual healing, because again, we are convinced that to accelerate the awakening now, we have to live in groups, work in groups, sharing groups, and also heal as groups.
Let me see. We're going to look at the Hall of
The labyrinth, yes,
yeah.
This is a hall that it's really beautiful. It's called the labyrinth because it is shaped as the labyrinth. And again, as everything reflects what we have inside, here is the idea that also inside of us, there is a labyrinth to find our true essence. And we are guided in this labyrinth by the divine energies inside of us, you know, the wisdom of all our presence in time. So in this hall, we have represented thousands of divine forces of the planet. Again, to remind ourselves that the divine is inside of us. The divine is a group. So when we speak of God in Damanhur, we understand that there is an absolute that contains everything that exists. And then there are, as if this were an onion with different levels, there are different levels also of divine forces. And every different people of our planet throughout history has connected to specific divine forces that became the containers for their highest ideals and their connection with transcendence. So in this hall, and I don't know if you can scroll a little more to show a little more photos there, Jennifer. So maybe people can see, okay, thank you, perfect. So in the new part, this is the new part of the labyrinth, you can see we have really painted hundreds and hundreds of divine forces all interacting with each other. So this is the new message that we want to give in this new epoch. It's time in which we create a new story, a new narration in which every people, every divine force has a role to play and everyone in harmony, so that the characteristics of some forces that maybe were out of harmony, for instance, the gods of war, can become softer by meeting the characteristics of the gods or the goddesses of love. And the gods of ancient secret knowledge could meet the cantors and the singers that can create new words, new languages, new narration that we can understand now as human beings of, you know, this new millennium. So this hall is really an awakener of our memories, because, you know, we are convinced that we cannot teach anything to anyone. Nobody can be taught anything, but we can be reminded of what we have inside, and we can be helped in making sense of what we're seeing, so that we can reach greater and greater complexity in our thoughts, in our hearts, in the way we relate to each other, and in the way in which we live on the planet. And complexity today for us at Damanhur means living lighter on the planet, more in harmony with the earth, and also understanding how everything is an ecosystem and everything works together. And this is a high complexity system.
Beautiful. We talked also about, it was fascinating about the archetypes, the missing archetypes, and the fact that, you know, you look at these temples and this beautiful structure you've made, but you were ordinary people coming together and you did something extraordinary. And you did this because of how you live together and how you do your research and spark that creativity.
Yes, when we talk of archetype for humanity, maybe people listening today are familiar with the idea that Christ came to bring the archetype of brotherly love. to bring back that kind of love for humanity. So we feel that the search for the missing archetypes, that is the formula that can allow us to really fully awaken as humanity, is not over. And one of the archetypes that we've been exploring and really bringing back at Damanhur is this idea of the community and the people, this ability of recognizing each other in each other. So seeing that that I can be myself, I can exalt who I am only through my connection with others, not through the separation, which is what, you know, normally society thinks of now. You want to be a great artist, then you have to be, you know, above everybody else, and you have to be the superstar in the top of the pyramid. We, with our artists in the temples, as you're looking at their art, believe the opposite, that the artists become really great and they can exalt their uniqueness when they can create something like this all together, where each one of them is bringing their intuition and their ideas, not only in a theoretical way, but is something so practical that becomes really something tangible that you can see and that you can share emotion also with the people that then will come and be in those spaces. So the art in our temples is always alive because it's the art of the artists together that gave the best of their essence to create what you can see and feel and experience. And then is the constant layers and layers of emotion, understanding, interpretation of everyone that enters these sacred spaces. And this is one of the reasons why they are sacred spaces, because they're always alive and there is always more room for the distillation of the best of every human being that comes there.
What fascinates me is the energy of the people there, the depth. You know, at Damanhur, you mentioned in your own bio that you had all this training and research at universities, and then you went to Damanhur and you actually deepened and you actually made it real and practical. And Damanhur isn't about just finding your own personal space, but it's bringing it into action.
Yes, and it's not only you know, going deeper in what I had learned at university, was also going deeper into my work, because my first work was with the European Parliament, and then I worked for an agency working for the United Nations, especially specializing in you know, gender equality. So for me, trying to make change in the world was always a priority, was always very, very strong in my heart. And then when I went to Damanhur, that's the place where I found the piece that for me was missing. And that was the idea of doing it together and doing it in collaboration with the spiritual energies of the planet. So it's not only the, you know, the level of humans, but it's again, the understanding of this ecosystem. As we look at planet Earth, everything is an ecosystem. So the idea that also the spiritual life and gods and divinities of humans are organized in an ecosystem made perfect sense to me. And in this ecosystem, everyone and everything has its role. Like, you know, the bacteria in my gut that keep me alive, they have a role as the absolute that is playing this game that we really cannot understand from our finite condition at the moment, but it's obvious that there is something greater than us that is playing a game within the world of form. So we're here to play in the best possible way and to commit to make practical changes together. I agree that it's very important to work on ourselves, and I also believe, and that's the teaching of Damanhur, that this change within myself must manifest in something that also others can enjoy and share.
Beautiful. When you think about, I want to open this up to questions in a minute, but I would love to get your idea when you think about this question, what will bring unity and world peace? And what is the most, if we distilled everything you're talking about down to something that you believe that Damanhur has taught you to bring this to people, what can we practice? What can we do?
I would say create community in whatever shape and form that can take. We've chosen to have a radical experiment of living together and creating a new society. We are an example, maybe an inspiration, hopefully an inspiration for many people. But even without going all the length and depth we've gone, creating community can have many aspects, and all of them are necessary today. Creating virtual community, yes, without though forgetting the importance of being together. And now with this social distances that we've had, I think all of us, we've felt how important it is to be able to also be connected physically, to feel each other, to feel each other's aura and presence and experience and wisdom, not just through the screens, even though this is an amazing way to start connecting across time and space as we have different time zones. But I really would say creating community, and then from community, understanding, and maybe we don't even need to understand, because then will become natural. It will come naturally. If we have community, then we feel the need for sacred space. And so these two elements will start to interplay and will open to higher and higher levels of understanding, connection, and union. And that's what happened with Damanhur. And I'm sure it can happen everywhere in the world. And we are very willing and very open, and we feel it as one of our priorities now to help other people create community. So if you're interested, do write to us, get in touch with me or anyone at Damanhur or our Welcome Center, and we'll do anything we can to support you in this.
That's interesting to me. Coming into Damanhur, it's not everything is roses. There's actually challenges that you face, and you actually overcome them. Your constitution has changed as your people and your beliefs have changed, and you're 40 years old now. And I think that there's something to be learned from Damanhur on how to create community and how to grow.
45 years old. At the end of August is our 46th birthday, the beginning of the new 46th year. So it's already quite a lot of time. Yes, challenges endless. I could start a list of challenges that we had from the beginning, and we still have. But challenges are always also opportunities. For us, one of the big challenges was the opening of the temples to the world, because the temples were built for 16 years in secret. Nobody knew they existed because the community could not get building permits. And so I say they at this time because I didn't live here at the time. They decided that this was so important to do, that it was so important to build this activator of this new divine energetic matrix for the planet, that they went ahead anyway, even if they couldn't get permits. But when they were revealed to the world, it was not the time that the community would choose. So the temples were open because a former member of the community started blackmailing Damanhur, saying, if you don't give me money, I'm going to tell the world about the temples. The community decided, of course, not to pay. And they said, okay, let's see what synchronicity brings. So the temples were open to the judge, to the police that enter with the intention of ending Damanhur, because they thought Damanhur was doing something really bad. And then as they walked out of the temples, the judge and the head of the Carabinieri were in tears, and they said, we apologize. We had no idea, that you were doing something so amazing. This is important, and we'll help you. And one of the things they did to help Damanhur was not to tell the world about the temples. So they gave the community the opportunity to talk about the temples in the way the community felt was appropriate. Because you can imagine the titles if the police were talking about secret temples in a mountain. And so that started to coincide with my own personal story, because that's when I chose to join Damanhur. I was asked to help with a press campaign, and then I fell in love not only with the temples, most of all with the people. And as I'm an anthropologist and a sociologist, I was like, who are these people? How is it possible that people like this exist? For me, was the most interesting case study in my life. But then I felt so much in love that I decided to stay. But that was one of the greatest challenges. The community at that time was not ready to open the temple. So the police coming like that was a big shock for everyone. And it took a few years to actually starting to see that as a great opportunity that actually brought Damanhur to be much more present in the world. But we had 4 years of very, very hard legal battles to actually be able to maintain the temples, legalize everything, and make it, the place of pilgrimage that they are now. And today we are a little bit, again, in a big challenge with the temples, not a legal one, not a similar one, but because we've been closed for so many months, because of the pandemics, we basically have had no way of making any income with visits, and that's how we support the temples. So I take this opportunity, and I thank you all for allowing me to say this, but we are really now needing help and supports and donations to keep the temples active and beautiful as they are for the road for humanity. So if you feel called to know more about what we're doing and support us, you can go to our website. For all the Americans that are listening, we are a tax deductible organization, so you can donate to us and write off our taxes. And so if you want to help us, we will be forever grateful. And we are really, really convinced that this is important for the whole of humanity and not just for Damanhur. So we're not asking for the community, but for the temples. Yes, this would be a great moment to support us. Thank you.
You'll find in the chat some of the links to the foundation in Damanhur and to the website I showed you, the temples of Damanhur, as well as a new 360-degree tour of the temples, which is beautiful. Yeah. I just want to say one more thing before we go to questions. I met Esperide at Damanhur a few times, and she has been an incredible teacher in my life in some of the courses we've taken with her. And I know she's going to be offering more online courses. And she also offers some different healing sessions and things. So she herself, her website will be up there as well, and her contact information. But she's anything at Damanhur. We've just skimmed across the very top of what we could explore with Damanhur. You can go into any one of these subjects and talk forever, because it's just amazing the depth of the people there and the place. So Conte, and thank you, Esperide, very much. And Noelle, I would love to open it up to questions.
Okay, and while we're looking, I know there's been a lot of comments, mostly from people who have been there and just are so inspired by the work, but we'll bring some comments over. While we're doing that, Jen, would you share with us how you first came, what is your background and how did you first come in contact with this community? And while I have the floor for just a moment, thank you for taking me there 2 times. So, and Esperide, we have been in some of your classes and are ever grateful. So we want this to go out in the airwaves, but we have a little bit more time. So I just wanted, Jen, why don't you tell us a little, and I'll get some comments here for you.
Thank you. It was very interesting. I started mentoring with Jean Houston a number of years ago. And from the very beginning, she said, you have to go to this place I've heard about. I think she actually knew Esperide. Didn't she meet you first, Esperide?
Yes, we met in Belo Horizonte in Brazil because we were both participating in a State of the World forum there on climate change. So that's where we met.
Wonderful. So she had
the opportunity. Oh, sorry, Jennifer. I just had the opportunity to have a lot of fun of acting on a kid that we created, and Jean wrote very quickly. It was really, really fun.
Jean, amazing to act with her, and she's such a stage presence too. My gosh.
And she'll be here later today.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a question. Conte Esperide, can you tell us a little bit about the songs of the plants?
The songs of the plants, yes, the music of the plants. Thank you for this question. Already in the 70s, we, so at the very beginning of Damanhur, even before the community was created, we felt that it was important to prove that we live in an ecosystem where everything is alive and conscious, and plants are very close to us. And yet we, especially in those years, there was very little sensitivity. Plants were considered, decorations. And so the founders of Damanhur created this device that has been developed many, many times. And I'm sure, you already have beautiful, the link there. Now we have a portable device that everybody can use to hook up to the plants or take to the forest and listen to the plants sing. So we created this device that basically transforms the variation in connectivity between the roots and the leaves of the plants into a MIDI signal that then can be turned into music. So what we found really fascinating is that this is not just the normal biofeedback, but the plants actually learn how to modulate the music. So they respond. So we've had many times concerts in which there were human musicians playing a sequence of notes and the plants reproducing and repeating it. So we really knew that they were connecting. We have trained plants to train other plants. I've had amazing experiences, for instance, in India, where I went twice with the music of the plants. And the second time after, some misadventures, because the first one I had was in Delhi. We had organized everything for months and months and months. We were on a big stage and we had made the list of plants that we needed. We arrived and was everything on the stage we requested, but the plants. So we went and asked, we said, did you see that on our list? And they said, yes, madam. And I said, yeah, but we don't see them. And they said, yeah, madam. I said, what do you mean, yes, madam? They did not believe that the plants could actually sing. So they put out all the electric equipment, the electronic, everything, but not the plants. So we had to go and look for a plant in that very hot Delhi. And from that moment on, we bought a small plant, and everywhere we were flying, we brought the plant with us. And then we would go to the venues and leave the plants there with the music of the plants attached to it to teach the others. And that I really had the experience of seeing how accelerated the process is when plants communicate with each other. And that device, and music is emotion. So that really included me in this communication with plants. And I think that's probably the sweetest thing that happens. It's not so much the phenomena that, they are interesting of the plants communicating, the music playing, but the field, a field of connection that opens when plants feel that we give them our attention and we are ready to see them as equal, different and equal. And that is really beautiful. So this device really helps do that. And of course, the key to everything is in our hearts.
Beautiful. You're on mute, Noelle?
We do actually have one of those machines, and we first hooked it up and the machine was like, the plant would sing just a teeny bit. I was going like, wow, maybe my machine. And then as the time went on, then it was like, maybe it felt like it was a safe place. And it just like burst out. I mean, it's like, why not, I can wake up in the middle of the night and hear the plants, going wild. And, it's just, it does, it brings me back into relationship and with what we used to think was decoration. And now we know, it's just such a great remembrance. And thank you for that. And we do have another question. Jennifer, it's okay if I read that for you?
Go ahead.
This is from Henry Lepler. He says, what role does a teacher, visionary leader, or co-creative body teachers play in creating community for the new story?
Well, Harry, hi. I know Harry personally. What
Henry.
a complex question you're asking me. I'm not really sure I understand. I would say that in a community, one thing that you quickly learn is that everybody's a teacher. And for us, specifically, our children are teachers very often. Because, when you have kids and they grow and you want to raise them in integrity, they're an incredible mirror to your own integrity. So I would say that maybe in a community, you get out of this idea of being a teacher, and then because everybody is, and in different contexts, we are teachers of different things for each other. So I don't know if I've answered the question, but that I would say is the thing I've learned the most here.
Okay, we do have another question, and from Burnham, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. He says, I've held a vision of such community for 40 years. Does Damanhur offer a blueprint, a way to duplicate their energy as a model to create in other places?
Yes. So it's 40 years that you held this vision. Maybe it's time to do it practically. So yes, we do. No, so excuse me for the joke, but it's just, yeah. Because it's not just that we hold the energy, it's the energy and action together. So if you haven't been here, I invite you to come and visit us. Or if you have another intentional community closer to you, go visit them and then really see in you and your heart how you can connect your mind, your vision to your hands. And then you will see the things start happening when you make them very practical. But yes, as I said in the beginning, yes, you're welcome to write to us. And we offer different programs also to learn to create community. In the summer, we have a 1 month long program called the Lab of Life, in which we share the essence of our 45 years of life together. And there's still a few places for this year. So if you're interested, that could be a way. We also offer EDE courses. So the Eco Village design that is created within the Global Eco Villages Network here at Damanhur, we offer that too. So there are many ways if you want to, and if you feel you're ready to engage yourself personally to start this process.
Noel,
Esperide, go ahead, Jen.
Esperide, I saw there's a question that came up that is close to my heart here. It's about your constitution. Patty is asking, how does a Damanhur change the constitution, and when do they get the knowing that it's time to change?
Very good question. So when Damanhur started, our idea was to reach a point in which we would not need a constitution anymore, because there would be, you know, everything would be so much of a part of our life that we don't need to write it down. We're not there yet. But we changed in our changes of the constitution, we have reduced the number of articles every time. When do we change it? When there is something really big happening. I can give you some examples. One of the big changes of the constitution was when our founder actually asked us to change the constitution to change his role, because in the first constitution he appeared as the founder, the visionary, and you know the leading vision. And after a few years said, I don't want to be in this role anymore. I want to change the constitution to be changed so that I can have a role as a counselor and as advisor. I don't want this anymore. So that for the community was a big change, because it also meant that we had to start relying much more on our own personal visions and how we were bringing them to unity, and not so much on the vision of somebody else. Then we've had other changes when other major changes happened. And the latest one, which is very, very recent, was because, you know, our founder died. Many, many things changed here. We have now different bodies managing Damanhur and directing and holding the vision. So we really needed to change it to be the mirror of what it is Damanhur today. One important thing I would like to say about the Constitution, and this maybe is a little piece of advice for everyone who's thinking of creating community, is that once we have approved the Constitution, and that happens during a general meeting of the elders of Damanhur, and there is consultation also with everyone before. So every citizen participates in the consultation, and then the final approval is by the elders of Damanhur. But you know, it's a large body of people, I would say at least 200 of us. And for us, it's a ritual process, so it has a spiritual value. And at the end of this process, every citizen signs the Constitution with their own name. So this creates two things. At a spiritual, energetic, and magical level, the Constitution becomes alive, because there is the energetic presence of every citizen and their will and their presence. Like we sign because we're ready, we approve it. And also every citizen knows that this becomes a part of their life from that moment on. Because when you put your signature in a spiritual process on something, is a part of you that goes in that act. And so it's a two-way mechanism of spiritual bonding for the greater good and for the integration of everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you. Noel, any other questions?
We do have more questions. A very practical one. Someone wants to join Damanhur. What do you do? Do you have to take a psychological test? Do you have to have a trust fund? Could you speak to that?
Yes. Everyone who would like to become a citizen of Damanhur is first of all invited to come here, visit the temples, get to know the community. And the best way to do that, again, maybe is in one of these programs that we have created. So the Lab of Life would be definitely one, if you can dedicate 1 month. We're also now organizing shorter ones for people that do not have so much time. But if you think of moving here, 1 month would be maybe the minimum investment of time to really feel that this is a place that resonates with you, because then it becomes a life choice. And then maybe take some of our seminars, our courses, be familiar with the philosophy. We also have several centers in different nations around the world. So maybe that's also a way that you can make it the first step of approaching some of the people that are connected to our centers around the world. So anything practical that can get you close to us here in Damanhur Central, if that's what you're considering, or anywhere around the world, because as I said, we really want to create more communities now. So maybe you will feel that you don't want to join Damanhur Central, but you want to join Damanhur, California, or Damanhur, Iceland, or and coming here and feeling the energies here, feeling the temples, I would really say, if possible, that would be the first step.
Well, we're running out of time, but now the questions are just streaming in. So I'm going to give you a couple, see if you can mash them together. Can you talk about the art of creativity at Damanhur, and would you kindly speak about the kingdoms and how many citizens are there in Damanhur in the community? I gave you a triple play.
Is there, how much time do I have for each one of the questions? Can you repeat them one by one, please?
Okay, first is, can you talk about the art and creativity of Damanhur? And we just have about 3 minutes left.
Okay, so then arts and creativity, very briefly. Art, creativity, and beauty are very powerful spiritual tools. We don't believe there can be awakening unless we live in a beautiful place. And that means beautiful in the way we relate to each other, beautiful in nature, beautiful in the fact that it's clean and tidy, beautiful in the fact that we respect our body as a temple, and beautiful in the fact that we built temples dedicated to humanity and that most beautiful and precious spark we have inside of us. Second.
Would you kindly speak about the kingdoms?
I don't understand this question, so I will add something on art, and that I would say we believe that every human being is an artist. Every single one of us is an artist. We don't have to believe to those that they say, if you're a doctor or an engineer, you're not an artist. We're all like Leonardo. And this is the new renaissance for humanity. So let's look at Leonardo as our inspiration. We can do all of that, be scientists and artists and amazing human beings, all at once.
That's, you made an artist out of Bob and myself when we came to visit you a couple times, and created.
No, we just reminded you that you are
out of us. So thank you. But I don't think we have more time for questions, because I want to make sure that everyone knows how they can get a hold of Esperide. She has a new website, Esperide. Go ahead.
Also, if people write to me directly on my email, that is esperide@damanhur.org, and they ask me the question, or even just say they would like more, maybe we can I'm sure we can organize from Damanhur another meeting in which I can answer all the questions that were left there. We'll organize the time and we'll let everybody know that we're doing this from here.
Okay, and Jennifer, I'm going to give you the final word here as we close and make ready for Marcia McCartney and Planetary Play.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I want to thank Esperide so much. And I also wanted to mention some of the schools she had mentioned that they have there. They have the School of Alchemy, the Mystery Schools. I did the Spiritual Healers Schools, and these are like 15-day intensives you can do in Damanhur, and they're also taught in other places. But they're a wonderful way to just dive in and get to know some of Damanhur. You were going to say something, Esperide.
Yes, we have a huge body of knowledge that we are happy to share, and it becomes more interesting the more people come here and share with us their knowledge. So I encourage you to go on our website. Again, if you feel called to donate for the temples, this would be really a crucial moment for us, and thank you for that. And go and explore our university courses and the different programs that we offer.
Beautiful. And Convoy, Esperide, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Convoy. Thank you for this beautiful opportunity.
Convoy.
Thank you, Bob and Noah.
Hi from the corner.